Hello everyone, welcome to RockShire Gaming. My name is Eric. Today, we're going to be doing a different kind of video today. It's not going to be an unboxing, not going to be gameplay or anything like that. I wanted to go over this early in the channel, kind of going over games that shaped me as a board gamer. I wanted to kind of go over all the various different board games that I played as a kid going into an adult and looking at probably what I would say would be like the top 5 games that essentially shaped me as a gamer. Don't know if that's going to be the title of the video. Top 5 most memorable games in my collection. Not even collection, because the first game we're going to talk about here, I don't own and probably haven't owned in over 20 years. But let's go ahead and dive right into this list. Now, this list is going to be ordered not in the order of value that I place on it, but it's going to be ordered in basically in the years that I got the game and when I played it and kind of the impact it had on me during that time. So let's go ahead and start right now. First, with what we call number 5, I guess, and it's going to be a game from Milton Bradley called the Omega Virus. This was one of the games that I played the most as a kid just because of how big and dynamic the game was to me at the time. This was a game, and I don't even think you can really find it anymore, possibly through listings on eBay and whatnot. And I have no idea where my copy was. I had this game. It was published back in 1992. I probably got it in the for Christmas of 1992, which would have been when I was in 4th grade. That's how long ago this was. So just imagine how old you were at 4th grade. That's where I was. 1992, I was 9, getting ready to be 10 in a few months. So that again was one of my first games I had that wasn't Monopoly or Life or Connect Four or anything like that. It's one of the first games I can remember of that back in the '90s that wasn't one of the mainstream games. That and Crossfire was another one, but I didn't really play that one as much. But the Omega Virus was one that I played a lot. A lot of the kids from the neighborhood would come over and we would play that game. It was cool because you had a computer in the middle of the board that represented both the computer on a space station and represented this virus that was taking over this space station. You would go around different rooms on the board looking for key cards, looking for weapons with which to fight the virus. The virus would sit there and taunt you um, while you're playing. I think the game, I had it set up and I think I forgot to turn off the game one night and I went to bed and the virus started talking in the middle of the night, scared the bejesus out of me. Again, that's why it's such a memorable game because it terrified me as well. But during the course of the game, when the virus, when you're getting closer and closer to the virus, sections of the board would shut off. There were these flaps that came over off the bases and would close off whole sections of the board. And it was just, like I said, a really fun game. And like I said, it's memorable for me because of the fact that uh, it was just, like I said, one of the very first games that wasn't a mainstream game. Even now, when I talk to people my own age about the game and mention it, no one remembers this game. I have to look it up on Board Game Geek just to show people that, hey, yeah, this game did exist. So that is my number 5 most memorable game, most meaningful game that I have. The next one is kind of a twofold because the box I'm going to show you, it's kind of like the second part of point number. Sure I understand. Series listening to me for some reason. So the next one is going to be this one right here. This is going to be Risk, specifically the 2210 AD version. Now, this is not my original copy of Risk 2210. The other copy still exists. The original copy still exists. I think my friend Justin's borrowing it right now. I think he's had it for a while. I just haven't gone over to his house to get it. But this was a replacement copy that I got mainly so I could utilize the cards in it and refresh the cards because we had played this game so much. This was so talking about, like I said, Omega Virus and those games going into high school, played more video games than Nintendo 64 and stuff like that. But one of the things I did always play board game wise was Risk, playing the OG Risk with my dad and one of his friends. Always felt bad about that because my dad and I were better at the game than his friend that we played with all the time, and we'd be at his house. So it was always funny to go over there, have him be the first one out, and then him and his family are making dinner while my dad and I are finishing up our game of Risk. So, but yeah, so this one though represents for me why it's memorable for me is that going off to college, not really knowing that many people, I did find like a new group of friends, and this was the main game. The Risk series at the time altogether, this was the main game that we played this thing basically every weekend for I feel like years. Um my original copy of it, one of the other reasons I wouldn't, even if I had it, I probably wouldn't show it, is because, or I would possibly show it, is because the box is so sun damaged, bleached out, from being in the back of my car, because we would just, like I said, I would leave it in the car because I knew the next weekend that my we would go out and hang out, that we were going to be playing that game. It took risk, normal risk with everybody, doing the normal risk things, and that one person inevitably taking over Australia, and then hunkering there, and then going off at the end of the game to try to take over the world. This one kind of flipped that whole thing on its head, because you have the water territories in here. You've got the separate game board for the moon. The game only lasts 5 turns. You're getting currency as well as getting currency as well as getting armies. You're vying for turn order at the beginning of every level. Someone inevitably goes to the moon in our group, and then at year 5 decides to do a big giant invasion of the planet if they can get the cards correctly to invade the right spots. Like I said, overall, this one's memorable for me just because, again, of the relationships that grew out of this game. Like I said, I had a lot of going into college and moving, not really having that many people to play games with, or even to having that many friends at the time. Leaving high school and finding a new group of friends that all had the same shared interest. This was a um, major game for helping with forging those relationships. So that is my number 4 game in this countdown of memorable games right there. The next one is not technically a board game, and currently the IP, or if you can call it the IP, has a little bit of controversy going around with it, but it's a game that um, shaped my um, I guess post college, and helped with maintaining a lot of those a lot of those friendships and whatnot, with going into various life changes. This is a game that we started playing during mid to late 2000s, um, and this is the time in our life we're all done with college. We're all going off to you know other jobs. We're all getting married, starting families, this and the other. But one of the things that kept my group together was this game right here, Dungeons and Dragons. This is a game that I still play. Not this edition. This is 4th edition. We moved on from 4th edition probably within a year or so. Went to Pathfinder, and then things happened, and we kind of dropped the game and re got back into it during 5th edition. I technically have a campaign of Dungeons and Dragons, that it's homebrew campaign that I'm in the middle of. No, I'm not going to be filming it for the channel, but I've had to put that on hiatus while trying to start up this channel. But 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, we got this. James is in my D&D group from the Fantastic Four playthrough, plus another friend, Justin. Got quite a few friends named Justin. But we got this from somebody on Craigslist that he was selling off all of his, at the time, fourth edition books. So it was both Dungeon Master guides, all three player handbooks, um, all the various power books at the time that were out, all the monster manuals that were out at the time. This was probably in 2000, um, mid 2010, when we got all of these various books and whatnot. So, um, yeah, so we basically got almost everything for fourth edition. Also got a Pathfinder core rulebook from that as well, and I kind of feel like that probably wasn't supposed to be in the box, but it was, and we have it. So, like I said, from there we moved on from Pathfinder, but D&D specifically, but overall tabletop RPGs was another memorable game to um, uh, get my group of friends to basically we gave us a night during the week that we can definitively come over and play games, hang out, do whatever, and just maintain those relationships. Also, forge a few new relationships with some new people from this that we'll kind of get into again with our next one. But this is also memorable because this is probably, not counting stuff like Rummy and those kind of card games, this is probably one of the first main games that my wife and I actually did play together. She eventually, after we got married, did join our D&D group for a short time. It was more during Pathfinder that she had joined, um, but uh, but yeah. So, and then again, life things happened that I'm not going to get into during this video. But like I said, this is probably one of the first um, games overall that she participated in, which also leads me to my next number. Well, number, that was number three, so this is number two memorable game, I guess. And this one is a card game more so, but a board game that, though I know it's not highly rated, and there's a lot of people who don't care for the game, it was the first board game that I can remember that my wife and I did buy and pick up, and that we played, and we, very similar. There's a kind of a theme going on with some of these games where it's like during an era we play a game. Um, back in, like, bringing video games into it. My friends and I, we played a lot of Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3 for years. And at some points, I feel like it was the only game we were really playing. And then Rock Band came along, and that was the only video game we were really playing. Then we all got into World of Warcraft, and I missed everything on the Xbox 360 slash PlayStation 3 era for the most part because all we played was World of Warcraft. It was crazy time in our lives. But this next game, again, like I said, is the first board game that my wife and I bought, tried out at our local comic shop. They had a wall of games that you could play, and this was one that we picked up off the wall. And it is, things are rattling around, Steve Jackson's Munchkin. This is the deluxe edition box for Munchkin. For some reason, the board that comes with this, I don't have anymore. I think I gave it to somebody else because I got the other board that folds up a little bit smaller. And the reason I have that is because we played this game so much that I had to put it into, um, basically my Munchkin stuff had its own bag that I was transporting back and forth. I basically went back and forth with two different bags. One had all the D&D stuff in it because we didn't play at my house, but I was a dungeon master, so I had a ton of stuff to bring over to somebody else's house all the time. They had a bigger house. And then I had my bag of Munchkin stuff because we were either playing D&D or we were playing Munchkin at the time. This is the original box, I think, for the first printing of the deluxe edition. I want to say this is the first one that the cards came in color for the regular game. That I don't remember, honestly, but like I said, we played a ton of this, people coming over constantly. My friend Justin's main strategy was trying to get the Munchkinomicon at any cost. Didn't even care if he won the game or not at some points, but we had to get the Munchkinomicon, so there was battles going all over for that constantly. So Um, like I said, this is a game. This kind of coupled with Dungeons and Dragons helped us with um, a being one of the first games that my wife and I played, as I said already. B some different relationships that we forged through there, which are relationships that if we didn't have those, there were some times after we had bought this game, because this is copyright publication date in 2011, June 2011. We had a lot of pitfalls with jobs and family stuff that if we didn't have the relationships that we had forged um, randomly through some of these games and finding some of the people that we played with, um, I don't know how we would have gotten through some of those life situations. So, not to be overly sappy on this channel, but again, that's why some of these games, though, well, that's why they define an era for us, or random eras for us, because um, yeah, just the relationships around them were very important. So now we get off of that with Munchkin there, and we get to a game that is meaningful because it um, with after Munchkin and getting a few different games from that era, like pointing around, I got getting Small World and King of Tokyo and Machikaro and 500 million other versions of Munchkin. We kind of slowed down with board gaming after our kids were born, so there's definitely a gap of not getting really, and then job stuff also got in the way. So there's definitely a gap between like 2012, or not 2012, 2014 and 2018 or so, where we really didn't buy too many new games, just basically had the games that we had ourselves. This next game is probably the first game that I got in this current modern era of collecting board games and playing board games. And it's actually the first game I got on um, Kickstarter. So, with that said, I grab this big empty box. That is going to be this game right here, Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. This is, as I said, the first game I got off of Kickstarter. The first thing I got off of Kickstarter was some Critical Role minis, but this is the actual first game I got. This is a big thing for me for multiple reasons. Primary of which is this was my favorite show as a kid. 1993 when this came out, while I was playing the Omega Virus. Um, I was playing this game. Didn't hurt that the Omega Virus characters looked a lot like the Power Rangers in some cases, but this again is going to be my first game getting into Kickstarter and entering into that world, and was probably the game that reignited me wanting to uh, reigniting me playing board games, and reigniting my love for playing board games. And is also probably a precursor of starting this channel. Is wanting to basically find an excuse to try to play more games. I've actually in the last few months, but starting the channel, have played more games than I have in quite a while. Not necessarily seen on the show. It's going to be more of like just playing in our personal time. Um, in some cases, trying to just learn the games and whatnot. But like I said, this one is memorable, number one on the list, only because we're going in order of purchasing. But um, this is, like I said, the first game getting back into the hobby. Don't get to play it as much just because, unfortunately, with the IP, trying to get, calling up somebody and say, hey, you want to come over and play Power Rangers today? Um, yeah, I'm 40, so that's a weird conversation to have with people. But this is, like I said, one of my favorite games, memorable game for the new era that it started up. And I would also be remiss if I did not bring up the way this channel runs. Is as a not runner up, but honorable mention, we have Marvel United. The reason I bring this up, I do like Marvel United. I love Marvel United. It's probably equal with me with Power Rangers in terms of um, uh, links back to my childhood with reading comics and that kind of thing, watching Power Rangers. All that happened at the same time. The This is the game though that did essentially launch this channel. One of the first videos on the channel was playing through, or not playing through, doing starting the Kickstarter updates on Marvel United Multiverse. So that is why Marvel United does get this very large honorable mention, because it is starting essentially a new era in for me with board gaming, and we'll kind of see how that goes. So those are the 5+1 games in my collection, or games that I have played that have the most um, meaning for me, the most memorable, um, have a connection more than just, oh, I saw this game in the store, looked cool to buy. Um, though there are a lot of those games, and at some point I will probably do my top 5 or top 10 um, favorite games in the collection, because though these games do have good memories for me, they're not necessarily my favorites. Maybe some of them. Um, but I do have a lot of other games that I do like a lot, and I would like to explore those on the channel as well. But for now, these are, as I said, the games that have the most sentimental value for me. So if you did enjoy this video, you enjoy this content, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you could. We are on our way at this video recording to at least 100 subscribers. I would like to hopefully get the 100 mark before February is out. Um, but yeah, if you guys can help with making that happen, that'd be greatly appreciated. Like I said, like, subscribe, notify, bells, things, all that stuff. And we will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.